Yes, we are going live. I just need to check my audio right now to make sure we're on the right audio. Diva, I'm going to do this thing in 3, 2, 1. I'm just checking my audio now. But yes, I just want to get this. I'm going to go ahead and just let's do this. Let's do this. Hola. Oh, my good stream today. Yes, Diva. All right, I just want to say thank you all so much for joining me. I am yours truly, Diva. And we've got a really, we got a deep session. We've got another deep session going on tonight. And I just want to say, I hope y'all are ready because we're going to do this thing. We're going over the molecular structure of the male and the female. So, this is a set I've been needing to put down, and it seems like the more intense these sessions are, the more I have to fight with my system trying to get these things up. But yeah, I needed my visual aids on this session because it was going to be very difficult for me to present it out my visual aids, and so now I have them. I've had to rig this thing so that I can get my visual aids up, and so yeah, we're going to do this session here. It's about time. So I'm just making sure my, my audio's up. If you all can hear me okay, let me know, please. Let's see. What do we have? All right, so yeah, if you all can hear me okay, let me know. All right, so hello. I got one person. Hello, Diva. All right, so we're going to do this thing. Once again, we're doing the molecular structure of the female and the male. We're going to break those down today. We're going to talk about what the X chromosome is and the Y chromosome. We're going to talk about what the male vessel is and the female vessel. We're going to talk about how the sex of the child is determined. And we're going to do this from a scientific point of view. We're going to show you some of the things that science has been hiding from society. Now, so for those of you who don't know, I got to say this. A bro told me the other day, he said that my sessions are like meat and potatoes. Meat and potatoes, as in it's got information in it that most people can't digest. They can't chew it up and digest. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't have teeth, as in you don't have an understanding of spirituality, if you don't have an understanding of the universal laws, if you don't understand just how real, and again, I said spirituality, I'm not talking about religion, I'm talking about spirituality. And you don't have an idea of the term metaphysics, and if you don't want to know the truth and the facts about science and the things that have been hidden from us, then I'm going to suggest that you're going to choke to death tonight. So you might want to change the channel. I'm just letting you know because we're going to go on facts. We're going to talk some facts. It's going to be heavy, but this is information that needs to be put out to my sisters. Hey, Uncle, Susanna, Chris, let's see. Ivana, my people, mi amigos in Argentina. Hola. Ese is in English, okay? Tengo otra cosas para vos, pero hoy, English. All right, so listen, I got to say this to my brothers. I got to speak to my brothers. Listen to me and hear me carefully. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. You are not that vessel. This goes for the sisters too, our females and males. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. And so especially to my brothers, I need to say this because we come down here and we are stuck in these vessels. We think we are the vessels. We started to identify with these vessels when you are something much more, much bigger. And so when I say these things, I don't want it to be where you're feeling some kind of way about your vessel, or that I'm trying to make you out to be less than. That is not the case. We need to understand what's going on. We're in a lower vibratory dimension. In these lower vibratory vessels, you have a spirit, and you have started to identify with the vessel, and we have forgotten, all of us have forgotten who we are as multidimensional spiritual beings. And so it's important for me to say that, because again, we get hooked on, I'm a female, I'm a male, I'm a woman, we're in low vibratory vessels. We are so much more than these. But what needs to be understood is that we have been lied to. There are things that are being kept from us that hold us here in these vessels. Now, notice I'm saying vessels, vessel, as in cell, like a jail cell. And that's what these vessels are. They're like a jail cell for your spirit. And when we forget who we are, we take on the identity of these vessels, and we move away from our spirit, which gets us locked, keeps us locked here. And I need to get this information out to my sisters, brothers, because we are spreading energies all over this planet, and we don't understand what we're creating. And because of that, things are in turmoil, because she is in turmoil. She's in turmoil because she has no knowledge of self. And so this, when I put this information out, males tend to get really angry. But what you have to understand is you're a spirit. You don't die. Don't die. These are just vessels, once again, that we have contracted with our spiritual energies. We created these vessels along with our mothers. So it's a combination of that. But what your vessel does is it tells a story of what you did in a previous existence. I need to explain this. I'm not going to, now tonight I'm doing science. This is based on science. That's what I'm doing tonight. But I need to explain this real quick so that some people can go and do their work, their research, move closer to their spirit, and understand what I'm speaking on. We are spirits in that we always have been, always will be. All right? We always have been, always will be. And so what we need to understand is that there is a timeline from infinity to infinity. And these vessels, these little 80, 90 years, 100 years that we're in these vessels are only a dot on that long timeline. And these vessels, like I said, tell a story of what was done in the previous time that we're here. Now, this is according to what science is saying, spiritual research, even your Bible speaks on this. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, again, listen, hear me out. You're not supposed to believe anything I say anyway. Listen to the information. Go back, study it, research it, move closer to your spirit, think on it, sit down, be quiet, and listen to what your spirit says, and then you can better understand what I'm trying to explain to you. But what we need to understand is that these vessels they're lower vibratory. We have the ability to do so much more and so much better. So don't get hooked on these vessels. What I need to do is talk about, from a scientific standpoint, what is going on with the woman so that she can get herself in order, and we can all vibrate to a higher level. So this is not, once again, to make a brother feel or a male feel that he's less than, or that he's not good enough, he's not worthy, whatever. Every being in this dimension has a purpose and a reason for being. What you make it is up to you. If you vibrate, then when you create your next vessel, then it's going to be a better vessel than this, whether it be male or female. You don't have, there's so many things that I won't get into right now. I'll talk about that when I get into the spiritual side of this, but we'll delve into that. But I just want to make sure my brothers know that I got love for you. And this is not about dissing you and my sisters. Please don't think just because you're in a female vessel, your vessel is all that much either, because of the simple fact that all of these vessels are lower vibratory vessels. And as spirits, we got to get back to knowing who we are and having knowledge of self so that we can clean this mess up. Sisters, y'all ready? Brothers, y'all ready? All right, well, we're going to dive into this thing. we're talking about once again the molecular structure of the male female. We're talking about the molecular structure of the male and the female. And we're going to break down the X and Y chromosome. We're going to break down what the male and the female vessels are. And we're going to break down how the sex of the child is determined. All right. Now, first of all, let's talk about this X chromosome. That is, the big deal. The X chromosome. What is it? What is it? It is, first of all, let's go in here. Let's go, because we hear a lot about it. And I'm going to show you what an X chromosome actually looks like under a microscope. It looks like an X. All right. So here we go. The X chromosome. Now, all of the chromosomes in the male and the female vessel, with except for one in the male, are X chromosomes. An X chromosome is determined, or is signifies a female. All right, female. And then all of our chromosomes, with the exception of that for the Y, we're going to talk about that, are female. They're X's, which represent females. All right. So now, again, we're talking about the actual cell structure, the molecular cell structure right now. So this is what an X looks like. Now let's talk about the cell itself, because you've heard, I'm sure, okay, we have 23 chromosomes. All right. Now, this is what we call haploid cell. Right here on the left is a haploid cell. And you see that it's got 23 chromosomes. All right. So we got all except for that last one. That's that 23rd chromosome at the bottom. It's called the sex chromosome. Right. And in this case, this is a haploid cell. It's going to be an X. Now, in every, whether it be a sperm or a female egg, it's going to be an X. Always that sex cell is an X. And we're going to talk about that later on as we start to understand what's going on. So now this is once again a haploid. Now I'm going to show you a diploid cell with 23 pairs. All right. So now one moment, because this is a diploid cell and it's got 23 pairs. So we've got, if you look at that last chromosome, an X and a Y, that's the sex chromosome. So one set is coming from the mother and one set is coming from the father in this case. So you'll see that all but that last pair is a Y. Now, once again, all of the chromosomes 1 through 22, they're all females. And again, once again, an X chromosome is going to signify that it is a female. Now, all right, so there are 23 chromosomes, and let me show you something, because what I want to show you is what is the understanding of the chromosome versus the gene versus the DNA, and so we're going to look at that right now. All right, so now, first of all, before we go into that, this is what I want to do. This is a female X chromosome, and you see it has 1,400 genes in it. That's what all of these stripes and striations represent. 1,400 genes in this X chromosome. And once again, let me break down what the difference is between the gene versus the DNA versus the chromosome. Now you have this long DNA strand, and that long DNA strand has many genes in it, and many genes make up a chromosome. And so that's what we're looking at when we're looking at all of these strands. Now, what happens is, now here we go, we want to see the male, what the Y chromosome is, because we've heard about the X versus the Y chromosome. So when you look at this, the female chromosome has 1,400 genes in it. And then you have the male Y chromosome. It has 100, 300 genes missing from it. Missing. Now, let's understand clear. Let's be clear on this, because science is not telling us this, but all of science shows, well, let me rephrase that. You're not learning this in school. This is not being talked about. But when you go and do your research, you'll show that the Y chromosome is a derivative. It is derived from the X, and so that's where it comes from. And the only way that it came, it could have it. Let me say this, because I don't. This one's going to be tough for me for people to understand and take. The X chromosome is the original chromosome, and it's the original chromosome on the planet, and then the Y is a derivative of that. One of the things that science is showing is that the only way that the Y chromosome could have possibly come about is that someone specifically manipulated it on purpose. Somebody with the knowledge of DNA specifically went in and manipulated this X chromosome and took out the genes to deform it into a Y chromosome. So I'm talking about the Y chromosome, and what it is now. Science shows is, when you go and do your research, again, don't believe what I say, hear the information, take it, and then go and do your own research. But what it's going to show is, and I'm going to say these words, and then I'm going to use a different term once I say them, but this needs to be understood what it is. Science showing that the Y chromosome is an unnatural, genetically modified, parasitic, recessive, deformed female chromosome. But from here on out, I want to use the term reformed, but it is a female that has been reformed into a recessive chromosome. All right, I'm going to go back and look at this so that we can see what we're looking at again. Because, here, let me say this as a matter of fact. Again, you're looking at this X chromosome, and then this Y is basically where someone has removed all of these genes from it to reform it. We'll use the term reform. Now, what does a Y chromosome look like under a microscope? What does it look like? It doesn't look like a Y. It looks like a dot. It's 6 times smaller. And again, it's had a lot of, we're going to talk about what removing those genes did and how you can see that, and how science shows all of this. Again, I'm not making this up. I'm just showing you the information that research is showing and science is showing, but it's not telling us really what's going on. So I'm going to say this too. This is going to be tough to take. Again, none of us are these vessels. We're spiritual beings. We created these vessels because of the energies that we put out at another time. So let's understand this. It also, science is showing that this Y chromosome is meant to expire. Now, I know that's hard, but we got to understand, once again, this is a genetically modified entity. Anything genetically modified is not, it only has a lifespan of a certain time. So once again, science is showing that the only way that this Y chromosome could have even come about is that somebody manipulated and tampered with it. All right, so now let's talk about what is the male vessel? What is it? A lot of us are not understanding what it is that we're looking at when we're talking about the male vessel. And again, I've been saying this, we're expecting males to do things that are not in their makeup, their physical, the nature of their vessel. We're asking them to do things that go against what their nature is. Now, let me say this. This is going to be another tough thing for me to say. And I know it's going to be hard. It sounds harsh, but I don't want you to take it that way. But nature does not create anything male. Nature does not create anything male. All right. The male, once again, is the come of someone manipulating DNA structures, manipulating chromosomes. And we'll get this whole argument about what come first, the chicken or the egg. Which come first, the chicken or what? Wait a minute, they both female. The chicken is female, she got all X's, and the egg is female, it's got all X's. A male doesn't even have argument or any fight in this argument. They're both female. And again, the original being on the planet was female. And as a matter of fact, the male is a female. He is a female. My brother is my sister. I know this sounds harsh, but we've got to understand it. We're going to break it down again. We're going to show it from a scientific perspective. And so you can understand, really, there's only one sex, that's the female. The male is a reformed female. Again, let's take a look at this from a scientific perspective and understand what's really going on. Now, I need to say this before I go into this. We've been told this whole deal about, this male-female split, the feminine and the masculine split. Okay, that's a lie. Why does this lie come about? Because it has to be made to, for, again, all religions are patriotic. And it has to be made to seem that the male was here from the beginning with the female, but that's not the case. And we got a lot of instances where, the female was producing before the male came on the scene. Again, this is not a diss. I'm just telling the facts, showing this. When we look at this, even now, we're seeing that the female was the original being, and that this chromosome came about from her, and that everything was derived from her. This is not a diss. She's got to know who she is, brothers, so that she can stop spraying her energies all out and making a mess and then blaming it on you. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's the one with all the power, but we're going to get into that. But again, science is showing she was the original being, and then there was this deformation of that X chromosome to create a male. So let me go back, because this whole, I've spoken about this before, where we have this lie that a male and the male and the female split. There was no split. There was no split. What happened was there was a deformation, not a separation, but a deformation of a female to a male. This is when we start hearing about these stories about fallen angels and all of that. That's where that's coming from. Because let's go into this, because a female is all, when I say female, everything comes from the feminine. When I talk about our spirits, they're feminine. Feminine means feminine and masculine always. Feminine and masculine always. When I say feminine, it's always going to carry the masculine. And we're going to look at that right. Let's see here. Where are we? Here we go. All right. We've got on the female XX chromosomes. Now, when she is, as a matter of fact, all of the beings, when they're first born, all of these embryos that come into the woman that she has, that's her full nation, they're X's. She's double X. Now, what happens is that one of her X's gets turned off. It becomes dormant. As you see here, it's dormant. And again, you have the male with this XY, and notice again the smaller Y, that it is an essence of the X, the essence of the X. So when we start talking about goddess, because the male is the essence of the woman, not the other way around. And so what happens is her X gets turned off, his stays on. Now she can't understand this. If her whole Y is functional, her whole X, if her whole X's are functional, she doesn't have any place for him. See, this is her ability to procreate on her own. This is her ability to create and produce whatever she wants to, her understanding of connecting with the universe and the spirits and creating all the things and manifesting whatever she needs. She doesn't have any space for him. Have you ever noticed how it's always where somebody saying, well, she too much man for him. She won't let him be a man. How do you let him be a man? Well, this is how. See, if this is not dormant, if this other X, and so again, go do your research. She's got two X's. Remember I said, look, it's always, there was no split. There was a degradation of a female to a male. So understand that she is the yin and the yang. When these are both on, she is the yin and the yang. That's her yang. See how much all of that, those things are. She is the alpha and the omega. She is the darkness and the light. She is balanced all by herself when she knows who she is. Right now, she has no clue of who she is and who her powers is. And this has been turned off. Why? Because with that type of information, this is her inheritance. With this inheritance, if she doesn't know who she is, she gonna turn it off till she becomes knowledgeable about self. She can't deal with it yet. But as you see, as she becomes knowledgeable about who she is, seeing this fighting, you're seeing this separation. Why? Because this is coming back on. That X is turning back on. And I'm only telling the brothers this because, listen, she is getting herself cleaned up as we speak. This mess will get cleaned up. What we want to have, again, your spirit, you don't die. My goal is that you understand who you are and move closer to your spirit so that you are part of the solution and not the problem, because she's going to get it cleaned up. Question is, where you going to stand? That's the question. Are you going to be a part of the solution or the problem? So that's the only thing I'm presenting here. These are scientific facts. Go look them up. This is not me trying to degrade or diss anyone, but the sister needs to know who she is. We're spraying energies all over this planet, and we're clueless about who's doing it. We're doing it. All right, so now we talked about what the male vessel is. And as a matter of fact, let me go into this, because somebody's still going, what? The male is a reformed female. Yeah, that's what I said. Let's look at it. So we've got this male vessel, which is really an inside out version of a female. So we look at his, as a matter of fact, here, let me let you take a look at that, and we're going to break this down so everybody understands it, because he's got non-functioning breasts. All right, his scrotum are ovaries, his penis is a vagina, that tip there, that's a clitoris. The skin that was removed, that's the labia. The prostate is a dysfunctional womb. And so we got to understand what he is and what we're looking at. My brother is my sister. That has been reformed in a female reformed female vessel. And that's what it is. And we've got to understand that. Now, wait, somebody's still not seeing it. Hold on for a second. Let me get this one. All right, do you see it now? You see how the penis is a vagina? If you're not understanding what I'm saying, again, the male is a reformed female. And again, this is science. I'm not making it up. There's only one sex. It is the female. There's only one sex. It is the female. Again, we're spirits in these vessels, and we don't understand what these vessels do and what they're made of. And we're running around identifying with the vessel when we need to start moving closer to our spirits. And the only way we do that is when she gains knowledge of self and understands who she is, so that we can stop making a mess on this planet. All right, let me get into this. We've talked about what the male vessel is. Let's talk about what the female vessel is. All right, once again, as I've stated, all things, I don't care if it was the grain of sand or the egg from a fish or the seed from a tree, the embryo from a human, all things come from the feminine, all things. And that's one of the things we need to be aware of. And also, every woman is born with all of her nation, all of those embryos that are sitting inside of her ovaries. Those are her nation. Now, we have been told that males keep reproducing sperm. They just come out of thin air and they just reproduce sperm. Okay, that's a lie. We're gonna dispose of that lie today as well, because what we need to understand is those cells that are coming into her ovaries and his, because those same cells go into his scrotum, because his scrotum are nothing more than ovaries. And he doesn't continue to reproduce sperm out of thin air. No, they come from those embryos. He has embryos just like she does. All right, so we're gonna see that. And again, this is science. Don't believe me? Please prove me wrong and go look it up. All right, so listen, this is huge to me, sisters. I talked about at the top parthenogenesis. I didn't mention that term, but how women were procreating on their own and still can. We're going to talk about that. So this is huge, and I need you to listen to this so that you can understand what's going on and why this knowledge is being kept from you. Now, the cells that come in her embryos and his scrotum, they are huge. These cells, they call them primordial germ cells. But these are the stem cells everybody's talking about. Those stem cells, they have 92 chromosomes. I need you to hear me. I call them microscopic giants. Why? Because understand, we only have what? We have 46 chromosomes. The 23 from the mother, 23 from the father. You've got cells sitting in your body right now with 92 chromosomes. Now, that's twice the amount of chromosomes that we have. And those are the stem cells that they're so crazy about. And we're going to see why they're so crazy about it. And we're going to also, this might give you an understanding about why they were so big on abortions at one time, until this whole, whatever this law y'all are going through. But let's understand this. So she comes into this dimension with all of her embryos, and so does he. All right, those 92 stem cells in the ovaries, they are huge, and they break down into 4 cells of 23. Let's watch this. Okay, this is called that process that they go through is called meiosis. Let's take a look at it. All right, so what we have is this big, the microscopic giant. That's what I'm gonna call it, the microscopic giant, or these stem cells. They're called parent cells. All right, and so you got these 92 chromosome diploid. Diploid, once again, you remember that term, haploid with 1 set, and then diploid with 2. So they'll say it's diploid with 2 strands of 46. All right, that's a giant. That's a giant. You and I only have 46 total. This thing has 92, and they don't tell you that. I don't know why they're being so quiet and hush hush about that. But yeah, it's got 92 chromosomes, which is huge. Now, those parent cells are going to break down into 2 sister cells. It doesn't matter if it's in let me just go on. Look, it breaks down into 2 sister cells. All right, once it's done that, it's going to turn around. Those 2 sister cells are going to break down into 2 more daughter cells each. So there's going to be 4 daughter cells. So from the parent cell, we're getting 4 daughter cells. All right. So that's meiosis. There's mitosis and then meiosis. Meiosis is what happens to the microscopic giants. All right, that's meiosis. And so they start off with 92, and then they're going to end up with 4 cells of 23 each. And understand this, that the primordial germ cell, what they call it, the microscopic giant, those are all X's. Those are all X's. And can't nothing come from an X but another X. Those are all X's. And so that's why when they break down, those are sister cells. And then when they break down, those sister cells break down, those are daughter cells. All right. Because that's all they can be. So now we're understanding, once again, that when these cells break down, that they end up being all females. All right, so let's see this. Because I want to show, as a matter of fact, you know what? I want to show this movie. You're going to enjoy it, I think, because it's impressive. All right, now watch this. Watch this now.